All right, and we're golden. Hello there. So, I'm back. After my first batch of videos, I think it's 500% clear that I need to spend more time writing the scripts for these videos and then rehearsing. Regardless, it still felt great to get those videos out, even if they are doubtless in a very rough state. For starters, it still shocks me how much I stutter, mumble, or just have a total brain lag. No doubt it's going to take a lot of practice and probably a sequence of face plans, so you guys enjoy the show while that is happening before I start to get comfortable and produce a decent quality of content. Until then, I'll do what I can to just enjoy the process and still do my best in the meantime. The way I see it, you don't have to be great to start, but you absolutely must start to become great. Anyway, Bullet Train. I went to see this movie on opening night at cinema, and that was what, about like 2 weeks ago now? I totally expected this to be nothing more than a guilty pleasure, which, in many ways, it absolutely was. But what I didn't expect is to have so much fun from beginning until end. What a fucking ride. It really shouldn't have surprised me that much considering the director is David Leitch. If that name isn't familiar to you, his directorial debut was on John Wick, which technically he is uncredited for. He did co-direct it with Chad Stahelski, who now helms the franchise and is doing wonders with the franchise. Really, hats off to good guy. But since then, he's tallied up quite a reputation as a director. So he's done Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2, Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, which is actually the only film of his that I didn't see, and now Bullet Train in 2022. So yeah, one hell of an action film CV. And on top of his directorial experience, he built his career initially as a stunt performer and coordinator. So that expertise really shines once again in this film. And it truly is one of the big highlights of Bullet Train and a worthy place to start off. So the fight scenes are kick-ass, varied, and super creative. Not only the stunt performance is great, but I love the use of environment in this film. You'd think that you'd run out of ideas real fast in a seemingly static and tight environment, but the movie is just full of clever ideas and surprises. It's near non-stop high-quality action, and it's a genuinely hilarious movie, which is another big surprise for me with Bullet Train, because I didn't think it would be nearly this funny. Like, I thought it would be kitsch and whatnot, but once again, the guilty pleasure, but I didn't actually think it would be quality comedy. Once again, to each their own, but in my opinion, I found myself laughing out loud on several occasions throughout the film. The action and comedy really make a delicious blend, and it's something that is worthy of praise because not every director is able to ride that line between action and comedy. Sometimes it's just like too heavily leaning in one or the other, or just, one of them just isn't nearly as well executed. Here, I feel like it's pretty solid balance between the two. And in my mind, the biggest positive quality of Bullet Train is the cast. So, of course, we have Brad Pitt, who plays the leading role as Ladybug, which is his code name given to him by his handler. And it's unsurprising, but Pitt is excellent as always. This role reminds me of some of his goofier stuff that he's done, such as in the Coen Brothers' Burn After Reading. Anyway, his Zen character, his Zen assassin character of all things, makes a hilarious contrast to the rest of the assassins we meet along this train ride. He's kind of going this pacifist road in his life. This is a pretty hilarious contrast towards the rest of the assassins we see in the film. And speaking of these other assassins, there indeed is a wide range of characters that we meet throughout the film. It may be overwhelming for some people, and I can understand to a certain extent. And some characters indeed perhaps have a more potent role than others, but I do find that they were tastefully executed. And there are some great surprises along the way, which I will not spoil. But the real stars of the film are Lemon and Tangerine, played by Brian Tyree Henry and Aaron Taylor Johnson. Their chemistry on screen is undeniable, and I couldn't help but invest in these characters. Their personality is so memorable and infectious. At first, I felt like they were nothing more than a quirky bunch, typical of previous films of its style and genre. But as the film progresses, I really got involved in their struggle. Honestly, some of the best qualities of the film's writing are centered around Lemon and Tangerine. Without a doubt, these two are a clear runner for Bromance of the Year, and from what I can tell, it's pretty unanimous on the internet for whoever saw the movie and actually enjoyed it, that these two guys are the fucking highlight of the movie. Finally, on the positive sides of Bullet Train, it has a it has a vibrant visual aesthetic. Sorry about that. The coloring of each frame of this film is beautifully rendered. Honestly, the film just pops with personality. The set design is memorable and creatively reused throughout the film, which is something I like to see rather than just these one-and-done locations. The costumes of all the assassins and their disguises were great, and of course, the makeup for all the fights was awesome and just perfectly supported the action in the film. However, on the negative side, if I had to present some cons, indeed there are a few points that I think are worth complaining about. There are at least 2 or 3 moments I can think of off the top of my head that just go beyond ridiculous. Sure, the whole film is crazy, and that works in his favor for the most part, but these moments just defy gravity and logic in ways that personally broke my immersion. Finally, the twist in the story felt incredibly predictable. These are narrative arcs we've seen countless times in the past. Honestly, I had a blast for most of the movie, but these reveals did warrant a bit of an eye roll on my part. So yeah, they're not reinventing the wheel over here, though luckily, much of Bullet Train absolutely sticks the landing in my opinion. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Bullet Train. For whatever reason, the critics didn't really seem to like this movie at all for the most part, except for a few exceptions. Yes, it feels a lot like a Quentin Tarantino or Guy Ritchie film, and the movie's like totally crazy. Bullet Train indeed wears its inspirations on its sleeves, but there's no way that I'm going to ignore all the fun, creativity, and great performances that I saw in this film. I had so much fun watching Bullet Train, and in my opinion, it's exactly what a great summer blockbuster should be. Fun, creative, and filled to the brim with action and some comedy. I feel more than comfortable giving this film an 8 out of 10. Totally surpassed my expectation and is a highlight for the summer of 2022 in cinema.